Today on r/PettyRevenge. Insane coincidence ruins a friendship. This is completely true, and the only reason I am posting it is because it actually happened. I know it is insane and many people will challenge it, but it happened, and if I made it up, it would have a better ending. It happened around 1989 in Alabama. I was about 19 and I had two good friends named Brian. I will call them Good Brian and Bad Brian, BB. I was young and stupid and trusting, so when Bad Brian was getting married he asked me to use my credit card to secure the hotel room. He promised me they would never charge it. I said okay, but was still suspicious, so I transposed some numbers and the expiration date, close enough where I could say it was an accident. He gets married, and no issue. 2 years later I bought a BB gun off of a mail order catalog, something like GG Sales. They are not in business anymore, but they used to sell Freon-powered BB guns. What arrives is the wrong item, and I call them, and they don't have them in stock. But I can exchange it for anything else in their catalog. It turns out they were like 45 miles away, which was a neighboring state, Florida. I drive over there and am talking to them, looking at the other things they have, and while I am standing there, a guy answers the phone and starts taking an order, and is saying the name while he is writing it down on the form. It is my name, but with an address much closer to Florida than I live. While he is writing down the credit card info, I walk in front of him and put my driver's license on top of the form. The employee is irritated because he does not realize what I am trying to show him and tries to continue with the order. I point to the name on the license, and he stops. I know who it is trying to place an order using my card because I had only given my credit card info to one person. I motion to the man to hand me the phone, and after a little reluctance he does, and I simply say, "Hi Brian. What the heck are you doing?" I could almost hear his mind explode as he recognized my voice. I mean, here, it was 2 years later he decides to use my credit card, and I am in another state in that store, at the same time, picking up the phone. Boom. I tell him I am going to stop by his house, his new address was on the order form, and I want the original paper he wrote my info down on, and any copies he had. I stopped by, he handed them to me, and it was everything I could do to keep myself from getting physical. The whole time he had a dazed look on his face, like he did not understand how this happened. I never talked to him again, but have thought of how insane the coincidence was. I just happened to be in the same place at the same time he was using my credit card, and was close enough to hear him say my name. Crazy. I know the revenge was petty, but in my mind I left him with a supernatural fear of me, or at least that there is someone always watching. For our next story. She wanted the house. My ex-wife cheated on me, and emptied our joint bank accounts before serving me with the divorce papers. So I signed the house over to her, made sure that the turnover was stated in the divorce decree as a settlement in lieu of alimony, and sent a copy of the divorce decree, signed by the judge, to the mortgage lender, along with a signed and notarized quitclaim on the house, which absolved me of any further responsibility for maintaining the mortgage payments on a house that I no longer owned and in which I no longer lived. All perfectly legal. Less than a year later, she suddenly realizes that she was solely responsible for maintaining the mortgage payments when the lender foreclosed on the house. I know it's not very petty, but it was sweet, sweet revenge. Edit, 2024 820, for my detractors, the bottom line is this: neither the lender nor any collection agents ever came after me, and my credit rating stayed in the lower 700s. I must have done something right. Let's dive into our next story. I've taken my brother's cemetery plots. They won't know until one of them pass away. My mother never shared the details of her will with me or anyone in the family. When she passed, we all learned she had made me executor of her will. My two brothers were very upset that their little sister, who has an MBA and a solid family life, was picked over them. Neither of them finished college, and one is an invalid who hasn't left his house in years. Mom left her house to the two brothers with the instructions that I sell the house valued at around $250,000 and divide the money between them. All her cash was to be divided between the heirs. Her other property was a small vacation home where her and my passed-away sister's ashes would be scattered. She left it to me and my dead sister's children. 30 or so years earlier, one of the brothers had told her he wanted to build his own cabin, so she deeded him an adjoining lot. When she died, it was still an empty lot. He convinced one of my nieces to sell him her share of the cabin for $1 and not tell any of the heirs before the paperwork was signed. The only way I found out was because he posted on Facebook, "I'm now a proud partial owner of my family's mountain cabin. According to my lawyer, no one can keep me out of it." We aren't friends on Facebook, but some mutual relatives are, and they alerted me to what had happened. In the state we live in, even a fractional ownership allows the partial owners to enter the property anytime without restrictions. There were some very ugly emails between him and my niece when she tried to get the property back, and he admitted he did this out of spite to hurt me and make sure my family and I didn't get to enjoy the property. Brother number 2 had emailed my niece several times and told her he was so proud of her for selling to her uncle, and he'd never seen his brother so happy. Mom's will was written so that the estate would retain ownership of all property including real estate until the probate process was completed. Brother didn't understand that and thought he would have immediate ownership. His lawyer didn't read the will very well and thought the same thing. The only way to get the share of the cabin away from him was for my niece to refuse her share of the inheritance. Even with that, it cost the $600,000 estate, including the house she left to them, roughly $30,000 in attorney fees to fight this. But we won and the cabin is safe. I don't know how much he had to pay his lawyers, but it was a lot of money. The situation drug on for months. The property Mom had given him sits directly across from the cabin. Out of spite and anger, he clear-cut the property Mom had given him and brought in over 100 tons of gravel, so the wooded area now looks like a gravel parking lot. This is directly next to the place where Mom and sister's ashes are scattered. The brothers had asked for the 3 burial plots next to my dad. They adored and idolized him. Mom is scattered at the cabin and she won't be using them. So I gave them the cemetery plot paperwork. But before probate ended, I had the plots put in my name and they are legally mine now. The paperwork they have is worthless, but they don't know it. I didn't tell the brothers and they won't find out until one of them pass away and they can't be buried next to Dad. Honestly, I know Dad wouldn't have approved of what they did. He loved Mom and would be upset her ashes are scattered next to a gravel-covered lot, not the woods she loved. I haven't told them what I've done. Screw them, they wasted money from her estate and made Mom's resting place look horrible. They don't deserve to be buried next to Dad. On to the next story. Bought an alarm to go off whenever someone leaves the baby gate open. I'm cackling right now. My teenager and husband are constantly leaving the baby gates I have installed on the stairs and door to the mudroom open. The dog will then go into the mudroom and eat the cat litter, or she'll pee on the carpeted landing or go up to our room to get into our trash or the diaper pail. It drives me bananas. Making them clean it up doesn't seem to deter them from constantly forgetting to shut the gates. My teenager maintains that they don't leave the gate open. So I bought one of those window alarms that has a separate magnet and then the main unit, so when you separate them, it alarms that the window is open. You can put these things just about anywhere, such as doors, fridge, or freezer, cabinets, etc. You can also set a delay, which is what I did so it isn't alarming just from someone walking through. Currently upstairs with the toddler for a nap and heard the teenager go down the stairs. And 30 seconds later, the alarm starts going off. I sent them laughing face emojis and they just said, "Unalive." I responded with a kissy face and offered to turn it up louder if they'd like me to. But I'm sitting here trying not to wake the baby up from laughing. I didn't tell my husband I bought these alarms, so I can't wait for him to come home and find out about them too. Update. Husband is home but hasn't gone upstairs or through the mudroom yet. He usually skips the mudroom and comes inside through the sliding doors. It's almost toddler bath time, so I'm sure it'll happen soon. Husband did indeed leave the gate open. He made it back over to the stove where he had the loud fans on so he didn't immediately hear the alarm. Everyone else heard it and I said, "Who left the gate open?" My middle child immediately gave up my husband and said, "He did it." My husband said, "It wasn't me," and she fired back at him that he just came down the stairs and it definitely was him. Then the alarm went off again and he said, "What is that?" And then, "Really, babe?" before rolling his eyes and marching over to fix the gate. Everyone got a pretty good laugh about it. I'll have to give it a trial run and see how well it deters them from leaving it open in the future. Our last story for today. I hunted down my credit card thieves. Yesterday morning I received an email notification from my credit card company stating a transaction for $1,500 at a med spa was declined, and another stating it was approved. I immediately called said CC company to report the fraudulent charge. Turns out my card has had fraudulent charges over the past 3 weeks with purchases including various hotels in my area, eBay, gas station, self-storage, and moving truck rental. I rarely use this card. The last time I used it in person was in February, and last online purchase in 2023. Fortunately, my CC company flagged all recent charges and closed my card. This morning, my significant other had a doctor appointment in the same city as a hotel purchase made yesterday. After the doctor, BF asked me what I thought we should do today. I said, "Well, you wanted to shop for some new shoes, or we can swing by this hotel up the street and see if the credit card thieves are still there." The amount seemed like it would cover 2 or 3 days. So BF and I go to the hotel to see if the people were still checked in and to let them know the card was stolen and the charges would be reversed. Front desk lady was pissed. She was able to find the reservation by card number and noted that the person had kept changing cards to pay for the room. Of course they didn't tell me the room number, much to my BF's dismay. BF was hoping to get a room key to take their stuff, LOL, right? I called CC company and they asked me to call the police. I called the sheriff department and they arrived within 20 minutes. I was surprised they even came. I gave them my report ID and credit card. The deputy asked if I wanted to prosecute. I said yes. But can I prosecute if my CC company is going to refund all the money anyway? Then they went inside and spoke to the front desk who provided them the invoice. BF and I waited outside in front of the lobby. Then, through the automatic sliding doors, I hear the front desk lady yell, "That's him, he's trying to leave!" Light Hispanic dude with a bull terrier and several bags gets placed in cuffs. He gets brought outside, searched, and doggo gets cuffed to a trash can. Then another little Asian guy gets brought out in cuffs. A third deputy arrives and brings out a fancy Asian lady with a face full of fillers, 2 suitcases, and a Coach backpack. 4 officers start going through the backpacks on the hood of their car. We see passports, IDs, credit cards. They pull out a big credit card printing machine and a laptop. Then they pull out a big Ziploc filled with crystal meth, and the cop exclaims, "Here we go," and turns towards us to flash a smile. 2 of them go back to search the hotel room and bring down 2 bags with more drugs, a scale, 4 car keys, and a big wad of cash. Unfortunately, none of the cars were in the parking lot, and the perps said they had been traveling by Uber. The cops contacted one of the thief's friends to pick up the dog, who arrived pretty quickly. It was an older Asian dude with tattoos, flashy jewelry, and an old luxury SUV. Don't worry, we got his pics and license plates. All these guys seemed like characters out of The Brother's Son. The deputies then gave me all the paperwork and told me that one of the guys said they stole my card off of the internet. I would have guessed that they used a scanner while I was at the fair a few weeks ago. I find that so weird because I haven't used my card online in almost a year. Apparently they made a physical card that had a different name on it. Anywho, I walk inside to give the front desk a copy of the incident number, and then I remembered something else. I remember seeing another transaction for a storage unit that was made yesterday, and 2 charges at a rental truck company. I go back outside and talk to the sheriff and asked him if he wanted me to try to figure out where that was. I was able to track down the storage location to a city about 15 minutes away, but no can do on the trucks. I called the storage place and they confirmed that a payment was made with my card but would not give me the unit number. From there, the sheriff said that it was out of their jurisdiction and they would try to get a search warrant, but that might take a while. However, it might be helpful if I made a police report with the other city. So with nothing better to do, I drove my behind over there and made another police report regarding the storage unit. That's it for now. We'll update if anything else happens. In the meantime, I will call up the credit bureau to freeze my social security, tell my dog to be on alert, and load magazines. Any other suggestions? Also, Copper asked if I wanted to prosecute, but that was before the drug bust, so do I need a lawyer? Thanks in advance. And those are all the stories we have for today. See you tomorrow.